and understanding for each other. You know, when we date, you know, when we first meet face to face, what's it going to be like? Are we just going to talk and have coffee? And how long are we going to spend? Are we going to spend an hour? Are we going to spend 15 minutes? Do we come back tomorrow? And especially if somebody's traveling long distance to meet somebody that they've met on the net, how are, you know, are they going to stay at that person's house? Are they going to stay at a hotel? How long are they going to stay there? What are they going to be doing? Are they going to have sex? I mean, these are all things that you should plan before time so that nobody is disappointed, so that nobody feels like they've been taken advantage of, so that nobody feels pressured into doing something, because what you've been doing for, you know, 6 months on the internet isn't necessarily what you're going to feel comfortable doing in person, in face to face. And going back to, you have this screen that kind of protects you. So this screen is protecting you, and you can be as sassy and as spunky and as open and dominating or submissive as you want to be, but when you're right in front of the person, you're awkward, you're, you know, I mean, you're got food in your teeth, you know, I mean, anything can go wrong, and typically does go wrong. And understanding, you know, even if it does, okay, we have tomorrow, or we can set up another date the following week. So understanding where you're going to go, and then making sure that you contact that person afterwards. You know, contact them afterwards, and even if you decide, you know what, there wasn't the physical attraction, or it just didn't click, still, are we going to be friends afterwards? And that's something that you really need to discuss before time. Because if you're not, if one person decides that they don't want to be friends anymore, then how is the other person going to feel? Because they're going to feel betrayed, especially if they put so much energy and so much work into it. And so making sure that you talk about it, making sure that you decide if it doesn't work out, if the chemistry isn't there in face-to-face, then how do we handle that? Do we continue as friends? Do we go out? Do I get up and walk out? You know, because these are things that you really need to discuss before time, that you really need to consider. The other piece, too, is talking about safety, and that was something that we had talked about. I seriously don't think that you should meet without having a safety net or a safety call. And by a safety call, I mean you can go and meet whoever you want to off the internet, but having a friend and saying, you know, I'm going to meet, you know, Teddy at this bar or this Starbucks or this, you know, wherever I'm meeting him, and from there I'm not going anywhere, and if I do, I will call you and let you know that I'm going somewhere. Or if you're meeting at a hotel, because some people do meet at a hotel, then having that call, okay, this is the room I'm in, I'll call you in 30 minutes. You know, and if I don't call you, you call me, and if I don't answer the phone, please call the cops and tell them to be there. So you have a trusted friend that's going to keep an eye on what you're doing. And I recommend that not only for internet sex, but for any dating that you're doing, unless you've been in a really long-term relationship. The other piece, too, is when you do meet this person, and if you're going to engage in any kind of sexual activity, you know, making sure that you've already set your boundaries with that person. You know, what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable? Are you going to try different things? Are you going to use condoms? Are you not? Because, again, somebody can say, most people don't talk about STDs. Yes. They don't talk about sexually transmitted infections and diseases. And they leave themselves open to many things. And I've had it to where people will say, well, I asked them about any kind of, you know, STDs, but they said no, and then when you get there, you find out that there is something. So I always say, you know, your first time having sex, your light should always be on. I want to check the package. I want to see what I'm getting. And it also allows you to feel comfortable with that person a little bit more, so you're communicating. The piece on safety as well is making sure that the person that you're getting is the person that you're going with. Of course, there's people out there that are predators, and by that I mean that they're just looking for somebody to take advantage of. And that happens not only to women, but men as well, because men think, you know, hey, I'm strong, I'm virile, nobody can take me down. Well, yeah, they can. You know, anybody can take you down. All they have to do is, you know, knock you down, sit on you, throw something in your drink, you know. So making sure, again, you have that safety call and you know what's going on. You allow yourself to be safe.
Now, my thing is, right, we use the internet. We're behind this computer, behind this wall that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. No one has to be honest.
That's true.
Okay? Now, I can, just as well as I'm sitting here right now, the 6'5", you know, African-American, Hispanic guy, if I go online, I can be a 5'5" blonde woman if I wanted to be.
That's true.
Now, how do we know if anyone's telling the truth? Because just like the predators, that's what they're looking for. You know, a predator doesn't go into a chat room and say, I'm a 45-year-old man who's going to rape you. He says, I'm a 12-year-old boy and I want you to come over to my house.
Well, not quite 12-year-old.
Well, I mean,
but,
you know,
yeah.
just saying, like, people lie
and
they get themselves into situations and consequences and bad things happen. So it's like, how safe is the internet?
Exactly.
And like
and
with
it
the
is
STDs as well, you know. No one says, I'm almost 90% sure that no one says outright, I'm HIV positive or I have herpes or chlamydia or syphilis and stuff.
Well, I'll disagree with you. Some people do,
Really?
and they will come out. I've done the internet exploring dating thing too, and that is one of the questions that I ask, and I try to and I make sure that I ask that because I want to see how honest the person is going to be with me. You know,
but isn't there the reason they're doing the internet so they won't get the rejection from the bar scene? Isn't that?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of different reasons why people go to the internet. You also have, and I want to get back to the safety issue, but you also have individuals that only want internet dating because of the fact that they're already in a committed relationship. A lot of married men, I found, will use internet dating because they're trying to play out a fantasy without actually cheating. You know.
I want to talk about that too. Is that
that's
cheating or not?
Cheating. In my opinion, yes.
Yeah, my opinion too.
In my opinion, it is cheating because you're engaging in a relationship outside of your primary relationship. Now if you tell your partner, then, you know, if you tell that to your partner, say, honey, I'm going to be leading this person on, male or female, and I'm going to be playing with them and so on, then that's not cheating. But the other person on the other side, you have to be honest with them. So there is the piece of honesty. There are people out there that will lie their butts off. Live, on the internet, on the telephone, whatever. They will always lie. What I find that's really sad is, you know, if you can't be honest on the internet, when the hell are you going to be honest? You know, there's something wrong with you if you can't be honest even in this medium. But people will do it. And so understanding that, going back to the safety issue, you don't meet them alone somewhere. You meet it, you know, your first date should always be in an open area.
But how many people do meet people alone?
Lots of people do, quite often.
Yeah.
And that's where that safety call comes back into play. And having that safety call you 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Because if they call you in 15 minutes, you can say, oh, I have an emergency. I have to go. You know, I mean, you could use that as a way out if this isn't the person. But also, you can use it as a safety where it's, you know, oh, I'm fine. You know, everything's wonderful. Why don't you call me back in a half hour? And the piece of what are you getting on the other end? I mean, I have a, I don't want to say who it is, but I know somebody who, personally, who went, two different occurrences. On one was where he indicated or he thought that the person on the other side of the internet was who they said they were. And this was a younger individual. And he thought he was going to go and meet a 16-year-old girl, and he was 16 as well. And he thought he was going to go and meet a 16-year-old girl. Turns out he gets there and she's 12. And the picture that was on the internet that she exchanged with him was actually of her cousin, who she wanted to see, and you're going to see. But one person was honest, one person wasn't.
So how?
And that same person actually ended up doing it again and setting his parameters a little tighter. And he turned around and he's actually with this new person, with this new girl, and they've been together for almost a year now. And I know the girl and I know her family, and
so
they're just wonderful. So they are good stories. I mean, the same, and the piece that I'm saying is the same exact individual got one good, one bad. So sometimes you do get a bad experience and sometimes you get a good one. But again, it goes back to making sure that when you meet that person for the first time, you know what you're getting. And if that person